Do you remember that old song from back in the day by Bobby McFerrin? Don't worry, be happy. Let that be your mantra. Don't worry, be happy. Whatever it is that's weighing you down, if you're an overthinker, whatever it is that's putting you on overtime because you cannot get it out your mind, don't worry about it. Sit it down, stop thinking about it, put it away, and don't think about it anymore. Don't worry, be happy. Focus on your happiness, focus on your energy. Don't let any problem or situation that you're going through weigh you down another minute. Remember that. Don't worry, be happy. It sounds super simple, but it's a way to live. It's a way to think, to just don't worry, be happy. Things have a way of working itself out. There's so many things I bet you can look back on your life that you stressed yourself out. You were like, Lord, I don't know how I'm going to get through this. And that situation resolved itself. It may not have resolved itself quickly, but when it did resolve itself, there was nothing that you did to make that resolve. Everything worked out in your favor. What did the worrying do? Nothing. All it did was add stress on top of what you were already dealing with to begin with. So just remember that simple mantra, that simple phrase, don't worry, be happy. It's all going to work itself out in the long run. Hey, Queen. In this episode of the Q Chat, we sit down with the incredibly talented singer Amanda Cole, a former In Vogue group member. She's known for her powerful vocals and dynamic stage presence. Also a former Broadway star, Amanda shares her journey in the music industry from her early inspirations to her latest projects, to include the new single, To the Water. We also discuss the complexities of grief. So stay tuned, Queen, for another great episode.
She's a queen about a business, working hard on a mission. Head high, purpose driven, crown on, never tilted. Go queen. Go queen. Go queen.
So thank you guys for joining another episode of the Key Chat. Today, my very special guest is singer Amanda Cole. Amanda was
Hello.
also a former singer in the famous group In Vogue. She also has a new single out right now entitled To the Water. So we're going to chat it up about music. I definitely want to talk to her about this amazing new single. And of course, our favorite topic, self-love. How are you doing today?
I am doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. Happy again
Good.
meet you. So I want to start off. I definitely had a chance to listen to your music. You have a very beautiful voice. I wanted to
Thank
ask
you.
you just to get to your roots. When did you
Okay.
start singing, and what attracted you to even start this career? I know singing is a complex career, so I definitely want to
It
the root of
is
it.
definitely
How you
that.
expressed it.
Yes. Well, like many singers, I did start singing in church. Singing, however, is not my first love. I did go to school for theater. I wanted to be an actress. But throughout my life, music has always played a very important part. It's been a very strong influence. My parents would always play music, all types of music. I was exposed to, Luther, of course, Anita, but I was also exposed to groups like Journey and the Bee Gees. So I had a very eclectic upbringing when it comes to music, and I've always loved it. I just didn't always love singing, but I grew to love singing, and I love it so much now. I started in church. I was a Methodist, not Baptist, so I didn't have the yay kind of singing. It was more like the ah kind of singing. So I was exposed to that a lot later in life, and like I said, I grew to love singing after doing it so much and having so many people say, "Okay, you should be singing. You should be singing." So I'm kind of glad I did now.
Awesome. So who are some of the influences? I know you mentioned some of the musicians that you like. Who do you
Mhm.
think were some of the influences as far as like maybe some of your vocal stylings or just any singers that maybe you wanted to emulate? Did you have any particular influences?
I did when I was very young. My very first influence was Stacey Lattisaw. I mean, I could have sworn I was her. I would sing her. I had a vinyl of her record, and maybe I would play that all day, every day. Then Irene Cara from Fame, she was an influence as well. But then Whitney, of course, came out. And I tell you, I think she's the influence for mostly every singer. But just seeing her and listening to her, she represented the image that I wanted to be, as not just as an entertainer, but just she was so poised and beautiful and articulate and classy. And she was just an image that I wanted to be like. A lot of my friends wanted to be like Whitney. It went beyond just her voice. So I think she is my main influence. She is someone that I think has influenced, like I said, so many singers. And her career was just, it was a career that I wanted to, it was a path that I wanted to travel, because she wasn't just locked into R&B music. She did pop music, she did Broadway. So yeah, her career is a career that I wanted to make, a part of my career as well, emulate the path that she took musically. Mm-hmm. I know that so often we're told that, because of whatever reason, we can't sing certain music, we can't do certain things, but I really feel like she broke a lot of barriers when it came to that. I know that I would listen to Barbra Streisand, and I would listen to so many others before she came out. And I love that type of music. I would sing sometimes that type of music, but I just never saw anyone who looked like me that did that type of music. So when she came out, it was like I saw myself in that. And I think images are so important in music. And she was one of the biggest, one of the greatest. Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. Sorely missed. Whitney definitely, she was different when she came out, because she had that blend, and she was the first, I would say, woman of color who was a pop star.
Right.
Didn't really have, I don't think we have really like huge pop stars like Whitney when she first came out. And of course she still is, deep roots in R&B, but just the fact that she had that pop success is just something that at the time wasn't necessarily something that everyone had. And
right.
At the perfect branding at one point, the image, everything. So she was like the blueprint, I would say, for a lot of singers at that time, for sure.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, of course, you had some time with the amazing group In Vogue. I wanted to ask you, what was your experience with that? And I know like it was when they were transitioning. How was your experience with that? And are there any particular memorable moments you had working with them?
Well, I grew up watching them on TV. So it was surreal. But to be honest, I'd worked with their producers before. When I was in high school, I used to travel to San Francisco, to the Bay Area, to do background vocals for artists that were connected to the group, and also other people as well. But I worked with Tommy and Denny extensively, and that's how they knew about me. I was also friends with Terry. When I would go out there, we would hang out, and we were pretty good friends. So when the group broke up, of course, everyone was so devastated. And I just didn't think that they would try to put anything else back together. I didn't think that they would try to do that. But ultimately, they did decide that they wanted to continue the brand. They worked so hard to build this wonderful brand that was it was so important to the culture. And I think they just felt like, they wanted to continue that. And they're so protective of it. So to have them invite me into that was very humbling. And I was very young, so I'd never been on stage like that. Like I said, I was doing background vocals for people, doing demos for people. I'd never been exposed to that type of, arena. So when I became a part of it, it was stunning. I have to be honest. I was young, like I said, and I developed a lot of anxiety because to go from your couch to 40,000 people, it's startling. And they were so gracious and helped me with the transition. Their whole team was very kind and did their very best to help me with that transition. As I moved through the industry with this group and met people and got a little more comfortable, I started to see the industry for what it was. And at some point I had to make a decision about who I wanted to be and how I wanted to be represented, what I wanted my image to be in music as a singer, as an individual. And I just didn't see the path for me. I didn't see the industry conforming to what I thought was redemptive and beautiful and gracious as a Black woman. So I felt like we didn't have the streaming that we have now. We didn't have, YouTube wasn't as prevalent back then. So I didn't see any pathways for me. I could either, conform to what they wanted or not. And I chose not to. Mm-hmm. And I just chose a different path. And I feel like that was the best option for me. Now the group is together. They have a beautiful member. Her name is Rona Bennett. We're friends on Facebook. She also has a single out. So yeah, she's a very inspirational person. The girls are really fantastic. I'm friends with Maxine on Facebook, and I still follow them. We're still pretty good friends. I had a really wonderful time with them. My leaving didn't have a lot to do with the group. It had more to do with the way the industry was beginning to set up. And now I'm seeing that reflection. I'm seeing what I saw back then. It's in the industry now. I see it. So I think I made a pretty good choice. But now that I'm trying to embark on trying to do it again, I'm hoping that I can be transformative. I hope I can transform it. Like when Whitney came in, there was no one that was doing that. We had Regina, we had Anita, but they were heavily R&B singers. And when Whitney came in, she was in a lane of her own. There was no one like it. And right now, I can't think of anyone who looks like me that's doing that. And like I told you before, the images of us, it's so important to have a variety. There's space and room for everyone to be creative in music. And unfortunately, the images for us are very one-dimensional. And I really want to expose how expansive our experience is. And I think that through music, that is the most impactful way. So I'm hoping that I can get a little bit more exposure and get these positive images out to everyone. It's tough, but
And I want to actually expand on that because I know, like I said, the music industry is extremely complex and there's a pressure. I feel like right now music is a little different. You mentioned some heavy hitters, Regina, Anita, Whitney, of course. Mm-hmm. Back then, even though like Whitney was in her own lane and we had other singers like Regina, Anita, Karen White, so many other singers, mm-hmm. They still feel like there was still a variety,
yes,
real heavy then too. It's not necessarily right now. We do have a few singers that are still able to come strong with consistent R&B hits like Raheem DeVaughn, John B. They're able to still have that consistency, but it's just not the same. Back in the day, like 80s, 90s, when R&B was just really heavy. Yeah. What are your thoughts on just current music? Because right now it's like some of the songs are really generic, as you mentioned, like a lot of the new artists, and it's not all of them, because I definitely don't want to take away from anyone, but
right.
A lot of, if you turn on the radio, a lot of things sound somewhat repetitive in a sense. What's your thought on just the music industry currently, and how can new singers or just some people who are seasoned come in and, as you said, stay true to themselves and not conform and create their own lane? Like how can artists make room to be themselves and, bring an audience to themselves and make a stamp in the music industry right now? Like, how can that be done?
Well, I think that you have to decide who you want to be and what you want. Because these days it's all about, how many subscribers you have, how many views you have. It's more about your social media presence. It has very little to do with how you've cultivated an art. So if you want to be a singer, then don't rely on, auto-tune and really cultivate your art and really commit to it. And I think most of the covers that I do, I really don't think about, whether it's going to be something that's going to connect and make people subscribe to me or get me a lot of attention. I really do music that I feel like is impactful to me and that the stories can be impactful to my audience. I try to, bring my own life experience into how I sing and what I sing. And I don't really think about what's popular on the radio, because my goal is not to be famous. My goal is to be heard. And you can be heard without, doing the extra things that are being done now. Like I said before, images are important. And music, creativity, it belongs to us all. We all have room. There's room for everybody. But right now, what I've been told, it's a business. So they focus more on, okay, you can't really sing that song because nobody's going to play that on the radio, or that's not going to make any money. And that determines the type of music that people release. Some people will have music that they're in love with and decide to shelf it because someone's told them, well, you really can't sell that. That's not going to be popular. You have to have a foundation that's strong enough where you can say, popular or not, this is who I am. And there are so many avenues that you can use to get exposure for what you want to be and who you want to be. You just have to decide who that's going to be, because there are so many people. I'm telling you, I've had record labels come at me and say, we'll offer you this, but this is what you have to do. And it's very hard to say no, especially now with the economy the way it is. You're like, oh, okay, that check was great, but who am I? After that, what does that make me? What image does that project? What are kids going to see? What are they going to think when they look at me and say, oh, okay, well, she's just like everybody else. I really want to present a very redemptive image now, because not like you said, not taking away from anyone else. Like I said, it's creativity and music is open to everyone. It's for everyone. So however you feel you want to express your creativity, yes, do that. But I feel like it's so one-dimensional. There aren't any people that look like me, that sing like me, that are on the charts like Taylor Swift or Adele or Kelly Clarkson. I don't see those people or those artists with the images that we have as Black women. And I don't feel that it's very fair. I know that I would listen to Shantae Moore. I listened to, like you mentioned, Karen White. Those women were beautiful, in Vogue even, beautiful, sexy, but not sexual. Mm-hmm. They were classy and articulate. And I feel like those images also need to be represented. And I think they're underrepresented in pop music and in R&B music. I teach vocals. And when I talk to kids about who they listen to, it's mainstream pop. That's what they hear. And I don't see a lot of our faces there. And I don't really understand why, but instead of going in and trying to become a part of that, I want to try to change that aspect. I want kids to be able to see people like, artists like Whitney. I want them to be able to see artists that are, up there with a different image, projecting something different, because we do have, our experience is very expansive. We are not just one-dimensional, but our music and our culture that is what is being seen and what is being shown. And I think that needs to change. I really do.
Oh, yeah. And that's true. And I just think that's one good thing about music, because everyone can own their own style. Mm-hmm. I do think that, again, in the past, though, it was more common, like you said, to see in Vogue, and especially in Vogue, right? Who doesn't remember, the first video they had when they were
Hold on, yeah.
Right. And
I had the dress, I know.
Right. It was so classy, beautiful. It wasn't excessive skin or anything, not to sound like an old grandma, but It was just a different image back then. Same with Karen White, Anita. That was just the style, to just have that grace and bring the heat with the music, and it all came together. So that was such a good time where it was just so common to see. So speaking of, I want to talk about this single you have right now, to the Water with Kevin Flournoy. Let's talk about this single, the subject matter of the song, and how was your experience creating this piece of work?
Oh, it was emotional. A friend of mine from YouTube sent the song to me as a cover suggestion, and and like I said, I cover all types of music, and it was a very emotional first listen because I had a relative that was going through an illness and she had said the very words that are in that song. She had said that to me. So when I heard the song, it was an emotional thing. So I heard it and I wasn't sure if I wanted to record it because of that connection. I was like, I don't know if I can do this. And the subject matter is kind of heavy. It's not, the subject matter that most people sing about. But I felt like, it's something that needed to be done. So when I gave it to Kevin, he did a beautiful orchestration. He is a magnificent producer. And when I gave it to him, he was like, okay, Amanda, I'm going to send you a piano track back, but I think that you should really record this song. I don't think we need to, do this as a cover. This needs to be released. So when he sent it back and I did the demo for it, I felt that. I understood what he was saying. We really needed to get this out to the masses. And during this time, we were in the middle of COVID. So it was a very emotional time for all of us. And to have that song, I think was therapeutic for me to be able to sing that song and to have that be a part of what we were trying to do at the time, because we were recording all kinds of stuff at the time. It was very different. And being that it was so close to a personal experience, it took on a whole new meaning for me, because when my grandmother was diagnosed with cancer, we tried, chemotherapy was the thing. Do it. And in our society, we always say, you need to fight for life. You need to fight, right? And when I was on my way to Atlanta, my grandmother was in the hospital and I went into her room and she was crying. And I was like, Granny, what's wrong? And she was just like, Tracy, I'm tired. I'm ready to go. I'm just tired. I'll be with you. I'll always be with you. But I'm just tired. And at the time, I could not understand that. I'm just like, you have to fight. What are you talking about? You're tired. You can't quit. You have to, but eventually, and even recording this song and listening to this song and hearing it for the first time, it helped me to realize that there's a lot of courage in letting go. I mean, she lived a beautiful life, and it's difficult to make a decision like that and to be brave enough to say, I feel like I've done all that I want to do. I want to use these final months to do the things that I've always wanted to do, enjoy my family. I don't want to spend these months fighting. I want to spend these months living. And it really took that song to bring it home for me that, it can be a gracious, beautiful transition. And just because they're not physically with you, the people that you love will always be with you. And I think that is the point of that song. It's told from this perspective of a person that's losing someone. And I think it's important that we don't just focus on, the love and the beauty of life. We can also focus on the beauty of death as well, because we'll all have to, experience that at one point. And it's an important aspect of life. And I think To the Water brings that home. I do.
Right. And you're right, because I remember one time when an aunt of mine had passed away. She was only 56 and she had cancer. And I remember speaking to one of my uncles about it. And he was like, death is a part of life. Like this, he said it so, I can't even describe this the way he said it. It was just matter of factly, that was his baby sister. He's like, death is a part of life. But the way he said it had no sadness in how he said it, and I think that's why death is so hard sometimes for us to process, because it's unknown, even though every single one of us, we are going to leave here one day. It's the most definite thing in life is that,
That's it. That's true. That is very true. And I think that our music needs to reflect that more. I think we need to, sing and talk about things that are hard, because there are a lot of people going through, like I would get messages. I actually got messages just this week where someone said that they heard the song and their mother had just died. And they played the song at her funeral and buried her near a pond at the cemetery. And he said that it was the most beautiful thing that he'd ever seen. He did not think that it would be like that. And another lady sent me a private message on Facebook saying that she wasn't able to grieve her baby. She was so angry. And when she heard the song, she was finally able to cry. And I think that is what music is made for. That's what it's meant for. I feel like now that it's so monetized, we forget about the subject. We forget about the stories that are behind our lives that we need to share with one another, because we have to know that what we're going through, we're not alone. I mean, we all share this planet together, and we all have experiences that are similar. And I think that our music reflecting that can really help us process how we move through life. And I think we need to have more of it.
Right. You're right, because back in the day we would make our own personal mixtapes, with our our cassette, and we'd have like our own slow jam tape, or we'd have the tape that we would make to hype us up, or just the tape of our favorite songs. That's one thing I think is lacking currently. There was a time period where music was your mood, and you made your particular tapes, or you burned your CD for a particular mood that you were in. If you're feeling sad, there are certain songs or just certain artists that you just relate to. Like even when Mary J. Blige came out with the My Life album,
Oh yeah, Real Love, all that. Yes.
And I remember her saying like that was at one of the darkest time periods of her life, but you could feel that in that album. And if you were going through something, you would throw on that My Life album, it would just be so therapeutic to pour out all your emotions.
Yeah, I do remember those times. I do.
Good times.
Yes, ma'am. I remember that. Yeah.
So I know you touched on it earlier that you're a vocal instructor. So I want to ask you about that experience being a vocal instructor. What led you into this field, and how gratifying is it? I know you also mentioned that you work with younger children. You talk about the music styles and everything. So I just wanted to deep dive into your experience being a vocal instructor.
Well, I never really thought that I would teach vocal lessons, but like I said before, seeing the direction music is going, seeing that we're not cultivating real artistry, Michael Jackson, Prince, even Whitney, I don't see that type of energy being cultivated in our music. And when you start young, when you start to ingrain these kids with what is fundamentally important about cultivating your art, I think it translates and it moves beyond wanting to be famous or wanting to be rich, but just wanting to share a part of you that is a little bit, it can be a little bit exposing, but it's necessary. And you have to work. You have to really put effort and time and practice into becoming not just good enough, but becoming a great asset to music. And doing that with these kids, and they're very hungry for it, but they are, influenced by the culture. So they look and see, well, I want to have this and I want to be that and I want to do it this way, that. And those things are fun, but the most important thing is that you know how to sing. I know it's easy to, lots of artists even now walk into studios and they'll run through it one time and just have the computers and the producers fix everything. But if you're going to be a singer, you have to know how to sing. Mm-hmm. I know that when I was coming up, you had to like flatfoot sing. You couldn't, hide behind auto-tune. Mm-hmm. You had to be able to sing. These days, it's not so much. I think it's more about your image than it is about your talent. Mm-hmm. And I'm trying to get the kids to move away from that. It's not about, how present you are on social media or how many people are following you. It's about whether you can get through a song without sounding wonky, right? Whether you can, present a song and present a story that connects with people. Those are things that I think need to be taught. That's the type of vocal styling that needs to be taught to younger kids. actually telling the story, knowing when enough is enough, knowing when a riff needs to go here or when silence needs to be here. It's an art, really. And I'm privileged to be able to impact the future like that. I am. I feel it's a great job.
Awesome. That's
Yeah.
beautiful. So I wanted to also talk about self care and self love. So I know through my research, I read that you're a mother of four. So I
Mhm.
want to ask you, how do you balance being a mother of four and your responsibilities with your career?
Well, I was a stay-at-home mom for a very long time. My kids are now much older. I have a daughter who's a sophomore in college. I have a daughter who's going to college this year. And my baby is a junior in high school. So my kids aren't kids anymore. That's why I have the freedom to sing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really important to let your family know that they are the most important thing, really. Because at the end of the day, when things are, not going as great as they could go, when things are, when life just happens, you have a bad show, you can come home and your kids are like, oh ma, it's cool, let's watch a movie, let's chill, it's good. So it's really good to have support and to have people who could love and care about you. And my kids are so grounded and so beautiful and so necessary for me. I feel very proud of who they are, especially with all the things that these kids are going through these days. I'm so proud of who my children have become. And I'm looking forward to who they're going to be in the future. I love them to death. I could talk about them all day.
So beautiful. I want to skip at a part that I saw watching one of your interviews that you had an experience where you met Michael Jackson. So I about that right quick.
I did. Well, like I said, when I was in Oakland, I would sing demos and I met a lot of people.
Mhm.
And I just so happened to be friends with the person who is Michael Jackson's manager's friend. He was a friend of Michael Jackson's manager. And there was a show that he was doing in LA, and one of the singers dropped out. She was sick. And they needed someone very quickly because it was close to showtime. So Gary called me and was like, Amanda, I need you to come down. I need you to do this song with Michael. I was like, Michael, who? He's like, Michael Jackson, I need you to come. So I went in, I did sound check. I did not meet him. I did not see him. We did sound check. They took me to the back. I came out, I did the song with him on stage, which was surreal, unbelievable. After that, they took me off, put me in a car. I was right on back. So I didn't really get a chance to actually meet him until I was in the group in Vogue. So we were rehearsing at a sound studio where he was rehearsing. And they were like, Michael's over there. And I kind of snuck over. It was so many people. Of course, it was very heavily, guarded. There were lots of people outside, but I found my way in and I was standing in the back. And somebody, of course, came to me and said, I'm sorry, can I help you? What's happening? I said, well, I'm with In Vogue and we were rehearsing and I just wanted to come over. And Michael's good friends with Terry and Cindy. And he came over and was like, yeah, Vogue. Oh, yes, I love them. They're my girls. How are you? I was like, I'm very good. Thank you. Oh, thank you. I'm great. And he was like, okay, great. And they were like, okay, so you need to leave. It's time for you to go. And so that was very quick, but and I was like, I wonder if he remembers me. I don't even think he remembers I was on stage with him. But yeah, I've met a lot of people and it was a great experience. That was the thing I enjoyed the most, meeting the people that I would watch on television, being in the same room with those people. I know we were at the Soul Train Music Award, the Lady of Soul Awards. Everybody that I had ever imagined meeting, I had a chance to meet. So yeah, it was great. It was a great experience.
That is a hell of a story. So
Yeah, crazy.
that's amazing. So I want
Yeah.
to ask you, one good thing about our platform is we do like to talk about self-love and mental health. Self-love is just one of the things that I feel gives us the confidence that, as you mentioned, to not conform, to be yourself, to create your own lane. So I want to ask you, how do you define self-love and what role has it played in your life?
I think self-love is, just being honest, not hiding. We're all imperfect people. And I think that people seeing the vulnerability in you, seeing the flaws in you, helps them to feel okay about the flaws in themselves. I think, being yourself largely is just being honest about who you are and not hiding behind a facade or trying to hide behind, what you think people would accept or appreciate. Loving yourself enough to say, I am enough. And you can accept me for who I am or, not. But I'm not going to change who I am to be what you feel that I should be. And just to surround yourself with people who are your tribe, people who think like you, who feel like you, who love you and support you and want to see what's best for you. I think that's a part of self-love too, surrounding yourself with people who support the person that you decide to be. I think that's important too.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. Our circle is what makes us or breaks us. We have to be around the right energy. We have to have the correct spirits around us because
That's right.
it can elevate us or it can drown us. So
Drown you. Yeah, that's so
really
true.
important. And especially as an artist, like Erica Badu said, keep in mind that I'm an artist and I'm sensitive about
I'm sitting around my stuff, girl.
you gotta have people
Yeah,
around because if not, you have to have people that pour into you. And that doesn't matter like what it is you're trying to do in life. You definitely have to have the right people around you. And I do everything you said is awesome. So this has been an amazing conversation.
Yes.
Everything though. I would like you to tell everyone how they can connect with you, how they can find you on YouTube, social media, just how can they connect with you and how can they find that single To the Water?
To the Water is streaming on all media, what do you call it? Yes, all platforms. It's on every streaming service. My YouTube channel is Amanda Cole Music. My Instagram is at the Amanda Cole, which is the same for TikTok at the Amanda Cole, and just Amanda Cole on Facebook. And my singles on all of those platforms as well. So yeah.
Awesome. Or you be going on any tours? Is there anything up next that we should be on the lookout for?
Well, right now I'm recording my record. So I'm really in the studio right now, but hopefully there'll be a tour coming up soon. I'm hoping. Yeah. But you did mention John B. I am opening for John B. and Tweet here at the Victory Theater on the 22nd. So I'm excited about doing that. I'm excited about that.
Listen, I need you to deliver a message to John B. I'm his number one fan. I'm sorry.
Well, let him know. I promise you.
Please, tell him, please. Like, there's this woman in Louisiana. Like, she's
I love tell him. I will tell
him. I never
forget.
Will. I saw John B at the House of Blues maybe less than a week before my 21st birthday, and that was a long time ago, over 20 years ago, but it was one of the best experiences of my life. So I love John B.
Oh, yeah.
I had to throw that in.
He's a very gracious and beautiful person. He really is. And I'll let him know that you are his biggest fan. I haven't shout you out.
Please do. Thank you again for this amazing conversation. I wish you all the best. I just really enjoyed talking to you, and I just love how just the things that you said about just not conforming. It's okay to be yourself. And as a musical artist, it's okay to just bring your talent. Let your talent speak for yourself. Like, I know that, as you mentioned, we do live in a society that's big on likes and all this other nonsense, but sometimes we just want to bring the talent. We just want to see that. We want to see the artistry. So I appreciate you for just staying true to yourself. And I know we'll see you in the future with an amazing album. And I just thank you for into the music industry, because we need individuality. We really need that.
Yeah. Thank you for the invitation. This was a very enjoyable interview. I got to say a lot of the stuff that I wanted to say. I appreciate you so much, Chandra. Thank you so much for the invitation. Thank you.
I enjoyed it. So guys, please make sure you check out Amanda's single To the Water. Make sure you follow her on all those different platforms and be on the lookout for her, because I know she's going to be doing some great things in the future. And again, no matter what it is you want to do in life, whether you're an artist or maybe even if you aren't, it's okay to just not conform. It's okay to be yourself. You can truly love yourself and love what you're doing. When you have a true love for your craft and your artistry, it comes out. So you don't have to worry about following the next trend or the next fad. And like she mentioned, it's not always about the number of follows or the likes. Sometimes it's just about having that love for what it is that you're doing,
That's
because
right.
it comes out and it speaks for yourself. So thank you guys for joining another episode of Key Chat. You can catch this episode and more at www.goqueen.com. Make sure you be safe and go love yourself.
She's a queen about her business, working hard on a mission, head high.